जल्दी से बस फोटोज ले लेते हैं।
Action.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Mango People. I'm Lok, I'm Bate. Here, we talk about the lives and experiences of the common people. You obviously don't know who I am, unless you're my family or my two friends, one of whom, by the way, I've invited on the pod today. And that's the entire point. It is not about who's hosting, who we've invited, if they're a celebrity or an expert. It is about our individual and collective mango experiences. Simply put, it is about you and me and our lives. Topic for today is divorced and dating. Unfortunately, no fairy tale was written in the digital age. We hear of as many divorces as we do of weddings. Do we even believe in a happily ever after or just till the foreseeable future? Are we choosing better or are we even more confused? Today we have with us my very old friend, Shireen, and we are going to share our experiences and explore some of these questions together. Hi, Shireen.
Hi, Raj. How's it going?
It's going good. I've been so nervous because I've been doing so many retakes. This is my first time doing this.
I'm so proud of you because I have known you for so long, and to see you do this is just, it's heartwarming.
So comfortable behind the camera. I am a little nervous of sitting here and like being in front of the camera, but I really wanted to have these conversations and I feel like it's good to do it with a friend.
And also a friend who's been through it, right, in the last couple of years with you. And I think that's the thing, right? The moment you find people who you can just navigate this with, it just becomes so much easier. I think we've been able to really sort a lot of our stuff just by having those conversations with each
I
other.
agree. If I didn't have you and like a few of my other friends, I don't know what I would have done because we really are, like I was thinking about this, we really are the first generation of people who've experienced divorce the way we have. Our parents, they were not open to divorce. It was not really an option. There was so much social stigma attached to it. And I don't think when we were going through it, of course, there were so many worries and like we've exchanged and discussed so many things and insecurities of ours. But I don't think social stigma was really like our problem. That, you know, oh my God, what will people say? What will my parents go through? I don't think we had those worries.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, right? Because I think that was literally the last thing on our mind, right? It was such a personal experience. You didn't really care about what anybody else was going to think about it. And you're right. Like, I think it's really nice that we have that option. We have that space to be able to do this and, just thrive after that, really.
Yeah, it has been like we'll discuss this even in further detail, but life has been better and we are being more ourselves and we are living our lives for ourselves. And I like a lot of people also see this in me, and you also tell me if like this has been your experience that I have opened up more, I've become more confident about who I am, and I'm just living life for myself. And that I feel is just a very healthy place to be in.
I mean, that's true, right? Because I think you and maybe some other people, some other friends I've seen who maybe not just divorce, but just like long-term relationships ending. I have seen the women really come into their own, I don't think I've known you for what at this point over a decade, and just the journey, right? And I feel like it's been an exponential amount of growth post the separation, post the divorce. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but honestly, it's possibly the best thing that could also happen to you.
You're not jumping the gun. I know it was a very difficult experience to go through, and it would be for anybody. Like I think we all believe in love and we want to have like a partner who we share our lives with, and that is the basic concept for me at least. But it is sad when that does not happen, when you have chosen someone for yourself. But you're right, like good things come from bad things, and you can go through hardships, but that doesn't mean that your life is going downhill. your life is going to get better. And yeah, you just have to wait it out and just take it one day at a time. Okay, so first I want to ask you, like, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from divorce. Going into it, what were your thoughts? What were you feeling?
So I think for me, I had been with my ex-husband for a very long time. In terms of the marriage, obviously was not a very long marriage, but we were together for almost a decade. And this is someone who's your everyday person. You're literally growing up together, and you're just experiencing life together. I think when the first conversation of things not working out sort of started happening, my first instinct was either we fix this through a way that seems a little regulated to me. Like, I was very keen on going for marriage counseling, or we go our own ways. I think for me, because it had been such a long relationship, I didn't want to spend any time being in limbo. And it didn't help that my separation conversation started in 2020. So we were in the middle of COVID. We were together. There was really nowhere else to go except figure it out. So I think for me, my first reaction was that, okay, we're having issues. Either we fix it, no family, no friends, we get a professional involved, because I don't want to convince someone to be with me, and I don't want someone to convince me to be with them, right? Like, I think at that point, it was like, either we want it or we don't. And it was so many different feelings, right? Like every day, every hour, every minute could be different, especially when you're still living with that person. But I think broadly, if I were to talk about, like my overwhelming feeling was this, that either we fix it for good, or, we figure out how to go our own ways. And I mean, I can say it with a lot more confidence right now, but of course, at that time, it was also very confusing.
Yeah. You're constantly second guessing.
Correct. Yeah. You don't know, right? You don't know how to take a decision at the end of the day, because it's a big decision.
It is a very big decision. I think it's bigger than getting married. I had struggled through my relationship and then even my marriage. And I really did feel like love could conquer all, because we did love each other. And I just felt like maybe you can wait it out. And I still do believe in this, that, things do get hard, but that doesn't mean that they will not get better. And you have to work on things. We are all evolving and changing as people. We are growing up. We are doing things. We may not see eye to eye all the time, but you can wait it out. Like we said, be patient. And I really did believe in that. I still do believe in that. But I also realized that my patience was not making any difference in that situation. I could actually see very clearly where that relationship could go. And when I could very clearly feel losing myself to my relationship is when I took the decision of like, okay, I have to step back. This is not working for me. I will become a different person. I will just completely lose myself. And I was just not okay with that. And that is when I had the difficult conversation. And of course, like you said, it was not like, आज बोल दिया कल हो गया बाय बाय ऐसे नहीं हुआ था
बिल्कुल भी नहीं हुआ
and our timelines were so like it was parallel almost, like we got separated around the same time, and we really held each other's hands through all of this. It was good.
It 100% made it easier, because even though it's a difficult decision, you have to take it for yourself, but just getting some perspective from someone who's going through the same thing, even though the situation could be completely different, but the outcome is going to be the same, right? So then I think that does help for sure. To have that solid community of people is so important.
It's like I tell so many people that I feel very fortunate that a lot of my friends were going through a divorce while I was going through a divorce and a separation. And my other friends are single. I don't have even a single married friend at this point in my life. And only one friend has a child. And she also is divorced, by the way. So, like, my surroundings in my circle really helped me feel okay about this. If at my age especially, I feel like that it's very normal to have people around you who are married and who have kids. And if I had that, I feel like I would have peer pressured myself into staying in the marriage. कि oh shit, सबके बच्चे हो रहे हैं, मैं क्या कर
I
रही हूँ.
know, मैं बुढ़ी हो रही हूँ, fossilized eggs and all.
True that. We'll talk about that also. Okay. What I want to discuss is like obviously we didn't have to deal with the social stigma, but there is like an opinion on divorce still. It's not like it's so welcomed in society today. And I've heard a lot of like older people say that, it's basically right off people of our generation and the generations to follow that, oh my God, these guys don't understand commitment. They are commitment phobic. They have no patience. They want everything instantly. And it could be true to a certain extent. But what I want to ask you is, do you think we threw our relationships away?
Absolutely not. Now I'll give you a longer version of that. I think the generations that talk about, patience, commitment, compromise, I don't see, I 100% disagree with that. Any relationship requires you to compromise, requires you to sometimes put the other person ahead, whether it's a friendship, whether it's your family, whether it's anybody. And that's fine. But you spoke a little bit about losing yourself in that process, right? The moment you feel like that is happening, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea all around, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your friend or your family for that matter. So I don't think that these decisions are still taken very lightly. They're not, although it may look like that because, there's, like you said, the divorce rates are going up and people are more and more choosing to move out of unhappy relationships and marriages. But at the same time, I also feel like financial independence is a huge thing that plays a role in, looking at your relationship a little bit more objectively. I think now when people are together, and maybe I live in a bubble, I don't know, but at least the people around me, it's more and more a choice rather than a need, I think for our grandparents, maybe to a certain extent our parents also, it was a need. It was how
There is a need. There, like, so many of our moms are dependent on our dads
Correct,
financially.
Right. And I get that, like, it was how it was done. Things were happening. But I still feel that people, when they talk about, you should have, I'm just generally saying, I don't think anybody in my life really said it to me. But when people talk about, but try harder, figure it out, fix it.
I was given this advice multiple times from multiple people ki bachcha kar lo, have a child, things will just get better. And I was like, oh my God, I did not even ask you for advice. This is just like unsolicited advice. And this is so wrong on so many levels.
The worst advice.
And that is when I also understood patriarchy a little better on how they just feel it's okay to be trapped or okay to trap you on so many levels. They feel that you will not leave, or it's just harder for you to leave a bad situation because there are so many stakes now.
100%. If we had children, we would have not just thought about ourselves, right? Then you have another, I don't know, thing to think about, really. And I that's the worst advice. Like, you're already going through a shitty situation, and then you bring another person who does not give consent to be in that situation. And yeah, I know we spoke about this. I know you were getting a lot of this advice and all of that, but I just feel like thankfully we have the space to reject that advice now.
Like, thankfully, like, I was not succumbing under that pressure, and I was just getting like full culture shock. I was like, what is happening, guys? Yeah. You can see how unhappy I am, and instead of chalo दिलासा देना तो बहुत ही दूर की बात है और मुसीबत कर लो, एक और पड़ाव,
बच्चा पैदा कर
पता
नहीं इससे पर I मेरे को किसी से पूछना है,
it's really,
होता क्या है, मतलब क्या ठीक हो जाएगा बच्चा पैदा करके?
It's like, really their muscle memory, I think, because I think they were given that advice. So
yeah,
this I know for a fact that people are able to do for others only what they're able to do for themselves. And I now, like, I don't judge anyone giving bad advice or saying random things, because I'm like, probably this is your understanding of life. My understanding of life is so different. It's fine. Just don't come at me with any advice. I will also not give any advice to you. Zero.
Fair. I think that's a great way to look at it. For sure.
Because, of course, unhealthy should just like
Bachcha kar lo.
eat like no gluten-free lifestyle is like healthy, but bacha kar lo. Unhealthy relationship, but healthy diet.
You know, it's very interesting. I think that also comes from this assumption that the woman needs to fix it in the marriage, irrespective. So I feel like, I mean, if I have to really think about it, it could also be that, oh, if you have a child, then if the husband doesn't have any affection for you, it'll definitely have something for the child.
You know, oh my God, this is such a big thing for me, honestly. I am a sucker for love. I want like my...
You love love.
I love love. And I believe in marriage still. And like this one thing that I've always had, like I've not really been fond of kids, and it's never been my thing. But my thing has also been that, you know, if my partner, who we are in sync, it's not just about love, we are also in sync. If my partner, he wants a kid, I don't mind having a kid for my partner. But yeah, like to compromise on my, like his love for me, or to basically feel like, okay, if you're feeling unloved in a relationship, have a kid, and maybe that love will come through the kid.
Yeah, and transference will happen.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
like that, the level of insecurity that it is creating in a woman is insane.
It's terrible.
Yeah, like
It's terrible.
even like sometimes your in-laws reject you, and you see all of that love that you'd never got, and you never got that acceptance in a family. Your kid is getting it, and you're still on the outside. I feel like that's the worst thing.
It's such a lonely place to be in an unhappy marriage. People need to realize that, you know, there are so many of my friends who've never been married, and, you know, we're all in our mid-30s. And I tell them, I said, you know, it will be so much worse if you're in a marriage and you're lonely and you still have to depend on just yourself and you have to do everything for yourself, because then you potentially have someone and that person is not showing up for you.
And you feeling constantly rejected, like there's a person in your life, but they're not in your life. And then there are people related to them also, because I think in our society, like the Indian society, in our cultural context, that is still a little prevalent, where the in-laws play a huge role. And the in-laws usually on the guy's parents, basically, they still play a huge role, like in your family unit and in the woman's lives. They have like some say and some control. And yeah, like if you are not a part of the family, you can really feel very isolated and like an
100%.
outsider.
100% you can.
You've basically left a family in a way. This is a very traditional way of talking about it. And I don't know how many people can actually relate to this, but this does happen still sometimes with some people. That, you know, you get isolated from your family and you're not accepted in the other family, and you end up feeling very lonely.
And in that situation, you are very privileged and very lucky if at least your own family, your own friends are there for you, so that you know, that sudden loneliness and isolation kind of gets balanced. But unfortunately, that's not the reality for most of the women who are experiencing this.
Why should we run away from our lives? You know, like constantly running away from the life that we're trying to build, back to our parents, back to our friends. You know, like, oh my God, I'll just have like a breath of fresh air once I meet my friends, once we go on a trip. Like, that should not be the case.
Yeah, that's true.
Our mundane day-to-day life has to be a life worth living.
That's
We were talking about loneliness when you're with the wrong partner, but there obviously is a lot of loneliness even when you're by yourself. And I want to talk about that also. But like, I want to know from you both about your experience post-divorce, both about how you've dealt with the loneliness, and how being by yourself again and living your life on your own terms has made you happy.
very interesting. I think for me, the moment I moved out and we sort of went our separate ways, because my separation was also for about 3 years.
Same.
Yeah. Before we finally signed the papers. So for 3 years, technically it was in a little bit of limbo. But I think the moment I moved out, I started living my life like, you know, for me it was over. Now it's a matter of signing a piece of paper. It's over, it's over.
You have to live your life.
You know, Himansh, it's very strange, but I've never felt lonely after that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm really like thinking about it. I think Chewy, of course, my dog, my love, my child. I think that him being around makes a huge difference because I come home to him, you know, I talk to him, I spend so much time with him. But even if I don't look at that, I think I just started really enjoying being by myself. I started I mean, I always enjoyed my own company, but I think now it was more of like, you don't really have any fallback. You don't have a boyfriend to call. You don't have a husband to call. You can call your friends and you can call 10 of them, you know, at that point. But I think I was very lucky, thankfully, that I never felt lonely. And I just felt happy.
You're not lucky. Honestly, I mean, it's come out in a way. I'll just explain what I said. But I've known you for so long, and this one thing has been so consistent with you that you always keep yourself happy. And I love your confidence. Like, it is enviable, but it is amazing. Like, I love how you've always been so sure of yourself. You know exactly what you want, you go after it, and you do keep yourself happy. So what I meant was that you're not lucky. You are like, that's your personality,
Yeah,
and you work
yeah.
on it. Because like you and I've been
That's nice to hear.
you are lovely and wonderful. Like, anyone who meets you, even like my other friends, whenever they meet you, they're always like, I've always had like a side conversation about that girl Shireen. I'm like, yes. And like, it's amazing because my experience has not been like that at all. I have amazing bouts of happiness, and my like intrinsic feeling is a feeling of happiness. But I also simultaneously deal with a lot of loneliness, and I dealt with a lot of loneliness going into it, like because, like you said, we both separated around the time that COVID was happening. We were all in lockdown, and things were obviously like fluid. You know, it's not like you are just not talking to your ex or you're only talking to your ex. Things are always in and out. But I was also trying to figure out what the way for my life needs to be going forward. And just first of all, it was very heartbreaking for me to be like, oh my God, I thought this is going to be the trajectory of my life, and it's not. And now I have to do everything by myself, and I'm of a certain age. And that really did freak me out. And whatever, I have still, like, you know, I was living by myself for some time. Then I moved in with my parents. And I opened my new studio and everything, and a lot of good things were happening for me. And I was like completely moving in the direction that I wanted to, and I'm doing things for myself. But yeah, I think it's a personality thing also, that because I'm an introvert, I don't really talk to a lot of people. I don't make a lot of friends. Although since I've been like this new phase in life, I have made more friends now
You have.
than I have in my
100%.
entire life.
Yeah.
Till 35 years, I did not make many friends. I literally had 2 friends. I did not exaggerate in the introduction, but I have made like a few new friends because I do understand the importance of it now.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's very important. You know, my mom told me this once when I was very young, and my parents have always had like solid friends, you know. I've seen that growing up. We were in the army, so it's not like family was around. It was your friends that were constantly around. And she told me, you know what, always prioritize your friends, because honestly, they will come through if you really invest in those relationships. And secondly, she also said they will disappear for some time.
That's such a good piece of advice.
Yeah, they will disappear. She
Yeah.
said they'll disappear, they'll get married, they'll have kids, all of that. But don't worry, everybody will come back. And I have seen that happen, you know. And I think, and that's not to say that I didn't feel what you felt initially. Like, I panicked. I was panicking about everything. My age, when am I going to meet someone? How am I going to do this? I had a whole plan. It took a lot of therapy also
Yeah.
to really process that. You know, it was very interesting. Once I was in a therapy session, I said, you know what? I don't want to be called like a divorcee. And she said, have you considered calling yourself single? And I was like, oh shit, I never thought of it. Yeah, you're right. Like, I'm single. Like, why do I have to like give an explanation of my life from the get-go? And I think it took that. I can't say, oh, I just snapped my fingers and I was fine.
I still do that, by the way. Like, I will, before anyone says it in the room, I'll say it. I'll address
interesting.
the elephant in the room. Yeah, I'm divorced. Like, somebody, I was at a shoot and somebody was like, are you guys married? Like, we were all sitting on a couch and we were like 3 girls. Are you all married? And instead of saying I'm single, I was like, I'm divorced.
I can't remember the last time I told someone I'm divorced.
Every time I go on a date, I have
Very
a disclaimer.
Interesting.
By the way, I'm divorced. In case you want to leave.
ये बीमारी छूने से नहीं फैलती है.
नहीं फिर भी तुम दूर ही रहो.
Swear, my God. Yeah.
Anyway, before we move on to dating, my last question or the last piece of conversation I want to have in the gamut of divorce is alimony. It's becoming bigger and bigger now because the divorce rates have gone up and everyone has like an opinion on it. And should you take it? Should you not take it? How distressed it is making men because they come under a lot of pressure. And it is true. I'm sure, like, you know, if your assets, you need to part with your assets and you're already dealing with like emotional distress of like going through a divorce, I'm sure it is a very, very difficult decision. But I want to discuss it with you. I want to know your opinion and then I'll share my opinion.
When you look at our country and the state of affairs and you look at, you know, where all divorces are happening, in what strata of society, I think there's so much, and honestly, across, I'm not even saying this is just, you know, for a certain section of society where women don't have probably the financial means and yada, yada, yada. You see like the richest of rich also where women don't really have the finances in their control.
Especially them. I feel like the richest
You're
and
right,
the
you're
poorest, we are somewhere in the middle.
So
and
you
we're
know, you
safe.
can be like a little up and down and it'll be
Yeah.
fine. But I just feel like in that case, money and has been such a, like, it's such a controlling aspect, right? Because if you don't have financial freedom, imagine thinking about, like, a cup of coffee is also not yours. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying people have to, all people have to actively think about it when they're dependent on someone else. They probably don't. But at the end of the day, it is a very huge controlling factor. I think as far as alimony is concerned, I think it's something that I feel if people want to go for it or request for it or fight for it, to each their own, honestly. Because I think it's very difficult to sit here and be like, oh, ye to acha nahi hai, ya fir ye bahut acha hai. Because I don't know everybody's reality. I don't know what they're going through. I think in a divorce, you'll hear both sides and both sides will come out looking great, you know, depending on who is talking about it. So you can't really tell. I think there is no, I don't want to take any sort of moral high ground and be like, oh, but I think if you're earning, you shouldn't take alimony. Listen, if you feel like you've invested a lot in that relationship, please go and ask for alimony. If you have kids, please ask for child support.
Of course, we're not even going to get into child support. It's so different from
Yeah.
alimony.
But I still feel like that it's a personal choice. I think that everybody is, you know, entitled to ask for it in as much capacity as
You
they
think
deem
everyone
fit.
is entitled to ask for it.
I do think that. Yes, I do think that. And I'm coming from a very general opinion of money being a controlling tool, primarily to control women. Because I can't live in my bubble and be like, oh, but like the 10 people I am surrounded by, it's not the case. But if you look at,
No,
you
for
know?
sure. Like you said very correctly, that the way our society is divided on like a financial level, our social strata, like there's so many contributing factors to how a person's life gets affected by where they're born, who they are, how much opportunity they have. And a lot of women are still dependent on men in their lives. First their dads, then their husbands, then probably their sons. And they've never ever been financially independent. And if such a person, like you and I, we bowed out of our marriages because we were unhappy. There's so many people who are in hideous marriages where they're abused, where, you know, things are really ugly and you have no way but to, and you should. But why a lot of people don't is money, because money controls.
It's such a huge
and
factor.
alimony for them, for sure, is a necessity. You need support because you've never been empowered to work for yourself.
You know, it's so interesting. This reminds me. When I had gone for my, I think, first hearing, there was, you know how these quotes are, they're bizarre, okay? Like somebody has to see that quote to understand how bizarre it is inside. It's nothing like what you see on TV. And there was this very old couple. They were clearly in their 80s, if not older. And I'm thinking, oh, they're accompanying somebody. Maybe they've come for their grandkids.
Grandkids.
Turns out they've come for a divorce. Okay. And I'm like, wow, they're like really like not even one more day. I'll live 5 days, but not even one more day I'm going to live with this person. But you know, it's very interesting. And then the husband was refusing to pay because you can hear everything, right?
Of
I was.
course. It's right there.
It's
a
right
very
there.
Small
Yeah.
room. Yeah.
So the husband was refusing and he said, why should I give her alimony? And the judge said, sir, because she's not worked a day in her life. She's probably, you know, run your house, your life. She's brought up your kids. She's done all of that. What is she going to do now? Now that you don't want to be with her or whatever, she's entitled to get some support on a monthly basis. 80-year-old woman's not going to go find a job, right? So, I mean, I'm saying I don't think I can say there's a right or a wrong way to
There
do it.
never is.
It's so many grays, right? Nothing is black and white. And I think I also don't necessarily agree that, oh, if you're working, then you shouldn't ask for it. I don't know what your reality is. I don't know what
Maybe
other
you're
things you've
used
done.
to a certain lifestyle.
For sure.
And you're working, but you probably are not allowed to work, you know, especially in big families. Bahus or daughter-in-laws are not allowed to work, you know, in certain areas, in certain industries. So you are so limited in your choices. Even before you get married, maybe your dad is not comfortable, your family is only not comfortable. There's so many contributing factors. So of course, even if you're earning, maybe, you know, you cannot provide for the lifestyle that you're used to. I agree, but I do feel like, and for like, I do disagree with you on some level. But again, like, you cannot speak for everybody because all our situations are so unique and different. One point that I had was, of course, like financial independence. If you don't have it and you've never had it and you don't know how to get it so quickly, you cannot like just become a pauper. You need support. And I think that's fine then. Also, I feel like if dowry was taken from you, then alimony is fine because you were like pressured into, you know, like doing a ritual that makes no sense. And you had to invest a lot of money. And we know how families work. They have to sometimes sell plots, you know, like take a loan. There's so many things that happen to make the guy's family happy. And if that has happened and then things have not worked out and you want an alimony, I think that's fair. But I just feel like if it's causing unnecessary emotional distress to anybody and you can leave it and you feel you'll be fine, I guess I'm of that opinion. Action.
Now we need to talk about some action.
Let's talk about action.
Yeah.
Okay, so our natural trajectory has been divorced and then dating. And let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Going back into dating in your mid-30s versus your early 20s, mid-20s, because I think the both of us like dated last in our mid-20s.
Yes.
So let's talk about how different it has been dating in our 20s versus dating in our 30s. And then we'll talk about even how dating world has changed completely.
It really has. You know, I think for me and for you, I'm sure, your dating pool was the people you knew, and then maybe you met people through them, and that was that, right? That was it. That was your world. And if you liked someone, you sort of told each other, and then you were dating. Like that was it.
Cutesy.
Yeah, it was cutesy. You know, it was all very like lovely. And I think I just dated my ex-husband for a very long time, right from pretty much my early 20s. I mean, I was 22. When we got back together again, actually. And then when you're 30 and suddenly there's a separation happening, you don't know how to do that again. Frankly, you don't want to do that
You don't
again
wanna do
because you've seen the effort and what it takes and how much time it takes and all of that. And I think, I don't think I was prepared. I had no clue how I was going to do it. What was I going to do? How do you even meet people now? Like, when you're in school, you're in college, you're meeting a lot of people, you're hanging out with a lot of people. So there's bound to be someone you'll end up liking. And I think that whole thing of, okay, not only am now in my 30s, but now I have to start from scratch.
From scratch.
Do I have the patience to start from scratch? Will I ever find someone I even get along with? Forget about actually liking and thinking about dating. I think there were just so many questions. And it's like you said, and it was a new world. Dating is not what it was for us back in the day. It has completely changed. It's great, but it's also not so great. I think it has like both pros and cons. Yeah, because on one hand, okay, you're not limited to your circle, and your circle right now is your workplace. So then that's not ideal, obviously.
And sometimes, like, I feel like if you're coming out of something so strong and so big, you don't want to date in your circle. Maybe sometimes, like, I just wanted to hang out with people who didn't know me.
I mean, fair. That's also like very interesting. Like, you also want to find people who don't know your history, who don't know, who have no context about you, what
Yeah.
you've been through.
I don't want to keep talking about the same
Yeah.
thing over and over, that, oh, I feel so bad and this happened and oh my God, what happened? And then you have to do that entire gibberish constantly.
Yeah.
Fresh, clean slate.
I think it was very interesting, okay, when I finally got onto the apps, because that's possibly the most convenient, easiest way to sort of dip your toe back in the water, because there's nothing you have to commit to, right? All you have to do is you have to download an app, you will make a profile, and then you can see how to take it. And I think for me, what was very interesting was that for such a long time, when you've been with one person, you don't understand how others see you because you're not looking at that, right? And suddenly there's just so much validation. There's like validation for you. And I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, shit. This is not so bad. This is not so bad. And I think I loved that for a while. I think because suddenly from feeling like something is fallen apart, it's not worked out, to suddenly feel like, oh, in whatever capacity, but you're wanted, you're appreciated, people are interested and all of that. I think that was very interesting when it began.
So for me, it was definitely, I was very overwhelmed and very lost as to where to even begin. And to date, like to be on an app was feeling like I was overexposing myself because I was so happy with that comfort of like, you know people, you're surrounded by people, like you said, in college or like in school. I never dated, but in college, at work, like you meet people. And I also started dating really early on and I stuck with that relationship. But yeah, like that comfort, to leave that comfort and then to just be out in the wild and being like, just like looking at strangers and strangers looking at you. And also apps don't have any kind of filter. There are all sorts of people on the app that I was just like, I don't want all these people to see my profile. Like I was very, very closed about it. And slowly, like my friends only helped me. You were one of them. Like, no, it's fine. You don't have to commit to anything. And I was very like, I was like, oh my God, if I say this and if I don't want to do this, then what? And I was like, it's all chill. It's all good. And I did get the hang of it. And I did really enjoy it initially. Like it was so light for me. And it was such a shift from like the hecticness of life that I was going through personally. I was just like, I'm just entering like a different space altogether. Like it was meta literally, that when I was used to go on a date, I would just be like myself without any like burden of what's happening in my life. And that was amazing to like just talk to people, get to know people. I even made like some friends because of that. So it has been interesting, but yeah, now I'm sick of it.
There are moments where it just seems like great because possibly you're also looking at great people. And then suddenly you get sick of it because, like you said, it also like becomes a lot, right? Because there's just at one point too many options. It just feels like, but where do you stop, right? Where does one stop and say, okay, now I'm going to stick with this, or I'm going to see where this goes. I think for me, initially it was just about, okay, I can do this. Like, I feel like I'm not going to struggle so much. But I think initially for me also, I used to start giving a lot of context about my life. I used to start telling them what has happened. And now slowly over the years, that's just gone. I think I finally talk to people starting from where I am today, rather than thinking about, oh, does this person want to know about what was happening 5 years back? They probably don't initially, honestly.
No, but yeah, that's true. I feel like just to give someone context that I have like been married before, I feel is important for me because it is a big thing after all. It's just to give someone context to what happened, but I definitely don't go into so much detail if I don't want to. If I'm not hanging out with you too much, then you probably won't know what happened. Like it's
Yeah. I think for me, I have just stopped giving that context completely. Honestly, I'm not even doing it deliberately. It just doesn't come to my mind
But you
anymore.
have so much confidence. You always
You know, it's so interesting. So suddenly, one day, randomly, someone I was talking to, and one of the first few questions he asked was, "So, have you ever been married?" And for a minute, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I have."
yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
did happen.
And then I said, "Oh, but like, why did you think of it?" Or he said, "No, I was just like, it was a question." And I'm guessing it was probably because of the age thing.
Yeah.
People probably wonder.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I mean, I won't hide it if somebody
Of
wants
course
to know.
not. Of
And I
course
feel like for me, it's like, if I feel this person probably has merit to be a little bit a part of my life, then I'm okay to give a little bit more context.
Exactly. Like, I have to be comfortable with you to tell you anything about my personal life. We are dating differently since we dated last.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're both looking to be in a relationship eventually. Like, that is like a goal, but it's not like a set goal that we're so laser focused that every guy we meet, we're just like, if we vibe with someone, we vibe with someone. If we don't vibe with them, we don't vibe with them. But how is it different right now for you, just dating?
I
Like, what
think,
difference do you see in yourself?
I think for me, the person I last dated was, of course, my ex-husband. We already had history. So for me, it was probably going to be a natural progression of things to move through different stages of life with him. I don't think I thought about it much. Very interestingly, it's not like I was a firm believer in marriage even then. It's not like I was.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me also, it was like a natural progression that very organically just happened. There was never anything that was forced about what we did. I think now, when I started dating, I mean, like you said, you can't really call it dating when you're just like meeting someone to figure out if there's even like merit in talking to that person. But I think the difference now is that initially I used to look at a person and be like, can I see myself with this person 10 years down the line? And I really had to stop doing that. Because that was just making me feel like, oh, I'm working towards one thing. For me, it changed. And I think it changed slowly. Where now I look at, okay, I'm dating for fun. I'm dating to have a good time. I'm dating to meet people, see how they are. If we like spending time with each other. If it grows into something, sure. But I don't think I go in with that expectation of, oh, this is going to be a one and done. I don't know if I'm right now at this point where I'm not sure if I'm in that mind frame of like a one and done right now. I think for me, it'll have to be something that progresses in a way that makes sense naturally. But I just feel like I don't go in with that perspective anymore. No, I just don't. It's put a little less pressure on me to really be like, oh, you have to figure something out. I also feel like I have made peace with the fact that I'm not saying it's like the happiest thing, that maybe I will be alone in that sense. Like I won't have a partner in that sense. And I'm prepared for that, I feel. Like I feel like for me, it's important that it works out in most aspects.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, rather than working out in some and then me saying, okay, this I'll be able to manage. So I think that has given me a little bit more, like I've allowed myself more freedom.
That's so nice. Like I feel like no matter what the trajectory of our lives are, for us to be content with who we are and where we are is just like a constant struggle for a lot of us. I know it is for me. Like, even if I'm content with myself and I'm happy with myself and I enjoy my company, I do feel constantly that there is a piece missing. But anyway, like, is it not frustrating for you? Like, when you were speaking, I was thinking, has it not gotten to a point of frustration in dating where you're meeting people and it's not really clicking and eventually it all fizzles out or somebody ends up ghosting someone? Things that happen these days.
So I think it's been a little different for me. I think for the last 4-5 years, I have really drowned myself in my work to a point where I think now it's not healthy, and I haven't prioritized dating, meeting people. I've actually not met a lot of people. Surprisingly, I end up talking to a lot of people and then I just end up talking to a lot of people. So I think this year I was pushed by some of my friends and they were like, you know what? No more like talking to people for weeks and months and saying, oh yeah, we've become friends now. You have to meet and you have to figure like whether this is someone you even want to talk to beyond that. So I've started to do that a little bit more, like taking out time to actually meet people. So it does get frustrating because I feel like in the first 1 or 2 conversation, if it looks like, oh, this is going well, and the third, there'll be something and I'll be like, I wish you hadn't said that because I would have probably met you, So it does happen. And like you said, you are seeing all types of people, right? It's not your little bubble. It's not your
You're meeting
circle.
complete strangers.
Literally. I mean, we are from an era where we were told, do not talk to strangers on the internet. Now you're literally talking to strangers.
Only strangers.
Yeah. And it's bizarre, but like, okay, I guess everybody is doing it.
Just go with the flow. What's happening, I guess.
So I think it does get frustrating for sure. The frustrating part for me is not essentially being able to find something long term, but it's definitely like, arey yaar, I've taken out time and now it's, now it's like now I don't know what to do with this or whatever. So that does get frustrating, but I think it ebbs and flows. It's not a constant. So there are days when I'm just like, okay, I'm sick of this. I just can't do this anymore. I can't talk to new people anymore. Like the conversation has to be interesting from the first 5 sentences now for me to like be able to have that conversation with someone. But
interestingly for me, I honestly felt that, my instincts about who I click with are very, very strong, and they have been. Like, I know I can spot my people from a distance. If I will get along with you, I will get along with you. If I won't, I won't. Although it was not true for us also. You and I did not get along at all initially when we were in a group of girls, and now you and I are very, very close. So that has changed, and I have that mental note for myself also. But even in like meeting people, like I remember I met this guy and I didn't really take to him. He was not interesting. I think he was also not interested in me that much. And we were just talking. But the thing is that we did not write each other off instantly. It was not the best conversation or the best time we had when we met for the first time. But we did not like just match each other. And we kept the conversation going. But it was not pushed or anything. It was not forced. It was just like long intervals and conversation. And he actually is like a good friend of mine. You've met him also. He came for my birthday also. And that was very surprising for me to see in my life, where a person who I thought I have no interest in became a person of big interest. And I've shared my thoughts with him and we share our lives with each other and we've really helped each other. He also is divorced. And we've really helped each other also in understanding each other's perspectives. So it was very surprising for me.
In that sense, I'm a big believer in destiny. I feel like if there's something that's meant to happen, it will happen. There are some people that have also surprised me when I've gotten along with them. And I, from the get-go, I thought, it's not going to happen. And it doesn't seem like a likely thing. But it does end up happening. So I also feel like if it's right and if it's meant to be. I mean, like very strangely enough, I do believe in meant to be and destiny and all of that.
That's great.
And I think it will happen. So, like you said, the fact that you didn't write each other off, I don't think that was effort. I think that was just supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
You was not supposed to write each other off, and that's why you're in each other's lives at this
Yeah.
point.
True. And also, like, this concept, I do sense it a little bit, where like we have become too quick to judge because we are all having multiple conversations on an app with different people. People do make very little effort in the conversations that are happening. People just abandon a conversation all the time. These things are very normal. Initially, at least when I was new to the dating app world, I used to get really hurt or like very surprised by like what's happening, you know? Like being ghosted was very new for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Why am I getting
Why you do
ghosted?
this?
What did I do? I just said hi. And you're gone now. But like we do because of so many options, I do feel there's a little confusion and like people feel the need to not be so committed to a conversation or to a person. And I feel like if you just let it be for some time and give each other some
Just space.
some space and a chance, I feel like it'll just be better because we are rejecting people, but we're also constantly feeling rejected. I feel so. I do feel that, you know, if we just like take a little break and a little beat, it won't be like this harsh. It is a little harsh right now.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I still have that thing of, oh, I will meet someone organically.
Same.
Like somehow that is still in my head because surprisingly enough, any sort of substantial or like pivotal people I've met over the past couple of years have been people I've met organically in real life, you know, and through different circumstances. And I feel like I still prefer that because it's that whole anticipation of will it happen? Won't it happen? It's still exciting, you know. I think on the app, what's comforting is that you're both having that conversation, knowing very well you're on a dating app, you're here for a purpose. So that base is set. But when you meet someone in real life, that base is not set. So that whole thing of, oh, it's really stupid, but it's so lovely. Like, does he like me? Why did he say that? Like, you know, like those
even like
conversations.
catching each other from like the corner of your
Yeah.
eyes across the
Yeah.
room. I think it's cute and like feeling giddy is great initially.
It's lovely. Oh my
and
God.
that is what leads to a conversation because you're just constantly like looking at each other,
Exactly.
smiling at each other, which is cute.
It's very
It's
cute and
great.
it makes you feel like your teenage self, and you know, it's all those like very cute emotions that you go through. And I know people who met their partners through dating apps, and it's lovely for them also. So I'm not saying either or, better way,
course.
worse way,
Of
or whatever.
course.
But I'm just saying, I think for me, in the past couple of years, it's been more interesting when I've met that person in real life. You know, we've sort of had this thing of like a push and pull, and
Yeah.
whether something has happened or not, but that's been more interesting and more fulfilling for me in that sense.
Same. I think
And-
this is one point of commonality finally between the two of us. Where I was really having fun on the apps when I knew I'm not ready to date yet. And I was just meeting people and I just wanted to like hang out and have like some freshness and newness in my life. And like keeping it light is great when you do it through an app. You can do it in your own time. You can just meet people. You get to meet a lot of new people more often than you would. I also don't like stepping out so much. I'm not a very social person. So to meet someone in a social setting is not that, the chances are very low for me. So I was loving it initially, but now that I know I want to be in a relationship, I have been like off the app. I'm like, okay, bye. This chapter is closed for me. This is not working for me at all. I want to do intentional dating or spending time. Like, even if it does not lead to into a relationship, it still has to be intentional for me. I am not doing a casual thing anymore. Like, yeah, I've crossed over to the other side.
Which is great, which is like, you know, I think that's what it is, right? You go through these stages and then this is fun for a while and then that is fun for a while. I think eventually we figure out what is it that we want and how we want to approach it. And I think that's the best because now that you know
Yeah,
You
and
know what to do now.
I'd never casually dated in my 20s, which is like weird. Oh, you see? Oh, one about like anyway, people do. Like even people back in the day used to, even though like it was like even if they would call each other girlfriend, boyfriend, or they were exclusive, it was still casual.
yeah.
I have seen like I've had friends like that, but I've never. So I did want a little taste of that.
yeah.
I was like, I can't just
I know.
die without not having like
That's so true, because I think I also went from like one slightly long-term-ish relationship. Like I had a bit of a gap in the middle, but that wasn't like this, like absolutely being single and free and doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And you have to go through that, whether you do it in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, whenever. But you need to have that phase in life for sure.
Your whole face.
Your whole face.
Can't be a granny all the time.
And yeah, it's so important. It's so important to
It
go
is.
through that.
It honestly did a lot for my confidence also. And it was very interesting for me to even meet different kinds of men. I had not met so many guys. And even like you have guy friends, they don't talk to you they will only talk to you a certain way because you're their friend. But if you're like in a dating space and the guy's talking to you, I've met like such a variety of people that I was like, oh my God, what's happening? What are you saying?
I sometimes I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, like
Most
oh,
times I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's fun. Like I said, the validation is great. Everybody
Validation is
deserves
great.
validation. I
Although
think
I did have validation in my relationship also, but yeah, like this, like I have, like my eyes have opened up to the world.
yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like when you're in your relationship, of course you're in it because there's validation, there's happiness, there's
Yeah.
a lot of love. But suddenly you're like, oh, I mean, you never consciously think about you could be attractive to such different types of people
Yeah.
across the spectrum, and that's very interesting.
Yeah.
At least for me, because like you said, we didn't really casually date.
Yeah.
So it was just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Like I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
An eye-opening experience.
Yeah,
but I'm going
100%.
back to basics.
Like, bas ho gaya mera journey, abhi
Yeah,
to
I'm
aur
happy, but bye. Oh, I do want to talk about this. Like, you and I, we're divorced, but we don't have responsibilities of a child. We just have responsibilities of pets. But I was also thinking about like single moms and their experience in the dating world and how different it is from ours. Like you and I, we were separated, but we were thinking about dating when we were not divorced. And we did, like explore a little and we were taking it at our own pace, but it was our personal pace. No external factor was influencing our decision of when to meet someone, who to meet. But somebody with a child, I mean, it is amazing. It is so difficult. Like they need to have a balance. They're constantly thinking about their kid. And I was just like, this is like 10 folds difficult for someone like that. And I even I've met some single dads and I've met some single moms. And the difference in the way they date is like day and night. It's so different. Like single dads, even if they would be like, sitting with their heads between their hands about like the kind of alimony that is being demanded of them or whatever frustration they have from their divorce, they're still dating like much younger girls and they're like out and about and they're doing their thing. But the woman on the other hand is like, because she's living with the child and she's taking care of the child full time, day and night, their dating life is so different. You can't really bring someone home after a date. You can't, I don't know how often can you go to someone's place. You need a nanny or someone to babysit. It is just a different.
It's so hard, and I know a couple of also single moms and they've had to move back with their parents, even though they're financially independent. But it's not just about finances, right? You need help because you're going to be at work. You have to manage 20,000 other things. And more often than not, children do end up staying with their mothers in a divorce. And it's really hard how their life is just put on hold, until the child is of a certain age. And by that time, you're of a certain age. You've not really explored anything. And it's very nice to see some of them do it, you know. It's nice to see some of them like just
Go for it.
yeah,
live
and
their
figure
life for
it out,
themselves.
because
Yeah.
otherwise it is very heartbreaking, you know. Now I think about it. I think about, you know, not just divorce, like women who also have lost their spouses at a young age. Nobody's ever encouraged them to now. It's always about, hey, maybe you get married again. Like, it's always like, oh, straight to, because you're a mother, you must get married again. It's never about go out, date, have a good time, explore people. That kind of encouragement is very less for single moms. And I can't imagine. Honestly, Manch, like, there are so many moments in which I'm like, thank God. Because if I had a child, you had a child, our lives would look very different
You
right
would
now.
look very different.
We would look very different right now.
Like you said, destiny. I feel like whatever is meant to be and whatever we truly, truly want for ourselves does happen, actually. That's true. Okay. I also read somewhere that Delhi was voted as the worst city to date in the country.
Incidentally, apparently, Bombay is the best.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I
Of
mean, I
course it
fully
is.
agree with that.
That Delhi Bombay thing never gets old.
True, yeah.
So
Delhi's bad.
Delhi's so
Delhi's bad.
So yeah, okay. My question was like, has Delhi really been bad for you? But you just said it before I asked also.
Listen, okay, like, I don't even know who all are going to be watching this at this point.
I hope everybody.
No hate. Some of you were okay. But I think for me, I've also lived in Bombay a little bit. I've studied in Bombay. So I get the city. I've not just visited. I've met people there. I have friends who I met in Bombay, and they're still my friends. I think in general, I found more my kind of people over there. So I'm just assuming dating might be better for me over there. I think the thing about Delhi is that it's a certain, I don't know how to explain it, but there's like
I'll explain.
you will explain it. I know. I was just trying to be polite.
No, you don't have
But I think there's a certain vibe that, even though I think we may exude that vibe, but as people, we are not that vibe. You know what I mean,
What?
right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pretense for the most part. There's a lot of like,
Are you talking about
in Delhi vibe in general or in
dating?
In dating.
Okay.
No, I love Delhi. I've grown up in
I
Delhi.
love Delhi.
I love Delhi. Absolutely. No qualms about it. Just it's home. I can't not
I
love
also
Delhi.
judge Delhi people. Just digressing a little bit, I do judge Delhi people. Not that I don't, but I still love my city.
Yeah.
It has great
course.
cultural heritage. I love living here.
100%. It's a beautiful city to live
we have
in.
our problems, but what city doesn't?
Yeah, I think for the dating part, it's also been interesting. I've actually met a lot of people who are not originally from Delhi. And
Yeah.
it's been a mix.
Of
I
course.
think very few have actually been from Delhi. And I think for me, it's more about the kind of conversations that we've had. And I feel like I'm great at having superficial, random,
Being
bakchod
social.
conversations. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
absolutely okay with that. But after a point, I need a little bit more.
Of course, you can't keep just faffing all the time.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, arey, then have one galat political view or something, and then I get the ick, and then
And we have to express our political opinion. We
You
have
have-
to.
you have
like, we
to.
can't stop ourselves. No, I'm just saying from Delhi point of view, Delhi people are just very like in your face. We're like, "Ugh."
and for the most part, a little ill-informed also. Like,
Of course.
yeah.
Of course.
So I think that has been a bit of a problem
Our
for me.
opinions form not based on information, on feeling.
Yeah, that is what it is. And I'm like, can we talk about facts sometimes?
पर
maybe?
गूगल में तो कुछ और लिखा है गूगल को छोड़ो
हाँ, हम
मेरी
बना रहे हैं।
सुनो
So and I think that doesn't happen in Bombay. I think Bombay is more cosmopolitan in that sense. You have people literally from everywhere. It's not locals. It's not people who grow up there. I don't think people who grow up there are the best either, honestly, in terms of dating, because I've met some people. But I just feel there's a lot more conversation you can have. In my experience, everybody has their
No,
own experience.
I have never lived in Bombay, but I have traveled to Bombay a little bit. I don't know if you're supposed to say Mumbai. I've traveled to Mumbai a little bit.
You'll always be born
It
for me.
is, I know. So I also noticed that I like being around guys more in Bombay than in Delhi. Like it is like we said, we both prefer meeting people in person over, doing the app thing. But in Delhi, it's really like if you're going out at night, especially, and if you're going to a bar or if you're going to a club, like, oh my God, I think it's a very, very like, uh, there people don't have a lot of like manners and like they don't know how to be a gentleman. They don't know how to approach women, how to even talk to women or how to make conversation. Like I have been, they give you major icks.
Yeah.
And if 2-3 people have done that to you, you have like a guard around yourself that you don't want to talk to like random people. Then that has happened in Delhi. Like once I was at a bar, and this is a very normal bar. I don't really go to any shady places anyway.
Yeah.
And then I was just having a good time with my friends and like whatever. And I was dancing and I was having the best time. I love dancing. I was doing that. And there were these 2 guys who were just constantly like staring at me. So the way they constantly like stare at you also is like, I get it.
Calm down.
But exactly.
Calm down.
Calm down.
Relax.
And then whatever, one guy approached just to say hi, and the way he said hi literally pulled my hand and just kept it in his hand. I was like, bro, like this, and this is not like a one-off situation that I'm telling you. People do worse things actually in Delhi.
Do you
But in-
remember we went to a bar once and this guy came up to us and he offered us a drink or something?
Was it in Gurgaon?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was weird.
it's always weird. It's always weird. But like when I was in Bombay this last time, I think it was early this year only, like the attention that I was getting was such good attention. You know, when guys were complimenting me, it was actually like if I was wearing a dress and the 2-3 guys I went for an art show and they were like, I love what you're wearing. It genuinely was a compliment for what I was wearing. It was not a creepy thing to be like, oh,
I want to take this off.
yeah. Yuck. But yeah, it was like I was feeling very comfortable there, and I actually was also finding guys to be more attractive just looks wise in Bombay. I don't know why that is, but like you really have to look in a crowd in Delhi to spot someone you can mildly feel attracted to. It doesn't always happen. But in Bombay, I think it was just like strewn about very nicely.
Because the way they approach you is they approach you like a human being.
Exactly.
They
It's
want
a
to-
person talking
yeah,
to a person.
I'm sure he's come up to you because he finds you attractive, but he's trying to
Probably.
have a conversation with you
Yeah.
and not focus on the fact that, hey, I find you attractive.
Yeah, and if I've just said thank you and left, he would also respect that.
Absolutely.
Which is just a given. It should be a given. It's like, oh my God, okay, I'll say this one incident that happened with me, and I hate going to this bar/club. I will not name it, but it's like a very happening club in Delhi, and Delhi does not have good clubs anyway, in my opinion. Whatever, like I was with a friend, and there were a group of us, and we went to the dance floor, and we were just dancing, and there's this guy dancing next to us, and he kind of pulled me, and like, but you know, when you're drunk and someone is just dancing with you, then I was like, it's fine, you know, like if you're all dancing, because I have like done that, like, but it was a gay guy, and we had like the best time that we were just dancing just with each other. He's like, my friends are not dancing with me. I was like, my friends are not dancing with me. So we were dancing with each other through the night. But this guy, like, we were dancing, so he probably like wanted to join us or something. I didn't care and I didn't mind. But he did something nasty, and I just was so shocked that I was just pulling myself through the crowds and I was leaving. And because when I turned, my friends were not there. And then when I went and I yelled at my friends, I was like, why did you just leave? Like, you can't just leave me like alone and everything. I was just very annoyed and I was yelling at them. And there were like these 2 guys standing next to them. And one of them offered me water. He's like, okay, you know, take this. It's fine. And after he offered me water, he's like, can I have your number?
Wow.
I was like, no. He's like, but I am better than that other guy you were talking about. And I was like, wow.
Congratulations for doing the bare minimum.
I was like, पानी वापस कर देती हूँ मैं. हद हो गई है यार. पानी पीने के लिए भी साला तुम्हें नंबर चाहिए अब. I was like, but that was just like, and things like that just make
I
you
think-
feel so disgusting.
Yeah, that's another thing of like what I've experienced with people, some of them who are from Delhi, is that the expectation that, oh,
The
we've gone out,
expectation.
now,
That's true.
yeah,
Which is why I also probably just preemptively, when I'm like meeting people, I'm like, I'm divorced, I'm this, I don't do this, I don't like, I'm not interested in this. Like, I preemptively just put everything out there so that it doesn't feel like, oh, spent any kind of like time on me or whatever, which is stupid. Like, and to honestly deal with all of this when you're in your 20s and your kids and you're figuring things out is still fine, maybe. But to deal with it in your like late 30s, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this nonsense right now. Like, I want to meet good people. I want to just have a good time. Work hard, play hard, go home. We've come a full circle in our conversation from divorce to dating. Now I want to talk about marriage.
Okay. My
Let's just go
favorite
back to the
topic.
beginning where it all started.
Yeah.
Okay, what I want to ask you is, do you still believe in marriage?
I think I never believed in marriage. I think for me, it was always a very questionable life decision.
Why do you think like that has been the case for you? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I think I grew up uh, in a family where I didn't see like a stereotypical way of how a marriage works. Yeah, and I think my parents were very independent. They had their own thing going, all of that, which would make you feel like, oh, but that's a good representation of marriage, right? But I also saw the fights. I also saw them not getting along. I just think fundamentally they were very different people, which everybody is at the end of the day. It's not just them, right? So for me, I think that coupled with what I've realized now is that I have extreme commitment phobia, extreme. And I think even in my past relationships, which have actually been relationships, I have been convinced into entering that relationship and making it more official, not in a bad way, definitely not in a bad way, but in a way that I have taken my time before finally I've said, okay, I think we could date. Okay. So for me, if that was such a difficult decision to take, marriage was an even more difficult decision to take. It was easier in some senses because we were together for so long. All my friends at that time were getting married. You were a part of that friend
Yeah,
circle. Like
yeah.
my school friends, my college, everybody was getting married. It just seemed like a very normal thing to do. Interestingly, both our families said, why do you want to get married? Why don't you guys just live together?
How nice.
Yeah, so actually there was no pressure, which is what is more interesting, is that there was no pressure. It was a decision we took all on our own. And it's fine that it didn't work out. I think there's no bitterness
Because
about
in
it.
the end, if this is working for you,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, because I always was not very convinced with the idea of marriage, because I just think fundamentally companionship, yes, 100% I would love companionship. Do I think only a partner can give me companionship? No. But if I have to think of a partner also giving me companionship, because maybe that's the more stereotypical or traditional way of looking at it, I still think a marriage is not just companionship. It comes with so many expectations, so many traditions, families getting involved with each other. It's bigger than just the couple. And that petrifies me, honestly. And I think the first time around, I was still fairly lucky in that sense. I didn't marry into a traditional family. Of course, there were aspects of it that will not agree with you. But I think that is very scary for me, because I think I genuinely want to clutch onto my independence so hard that I feel like right now what I feel like is marriage will take that away. And it's not about, oh, I can't be with one person. It's not that. But I just think marriage is so much more than just the two people in the marriage. That's what scares me. I think that's primarily my fear that, oh my God, haan, theek hai, ladka to theek hai, but I don't know how his parents are. I don't know if he has siblings. extended family. I don't know how my family will react. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to process and deal with. So,
Like when you were talking, I was also thinking about it from my point of view. And all these concerns that you have are concerns that I have, and I've faced these issues actually in my previous marriage. And it is scary, but somehow I feel like I can work through those issues if the person I have by my side is the right person. I feel like if you have, and I've actually seen that, I've seen that in like marriages where two people are compatible to begin with, but they work on their relationship consistently so that the surrounding factors are not contributing factors. They don't really impact their core relationship, and they make decisions for themselves and each other. And they are also like good individuals in themselves. Like in the relationship, they've not really lost their individuality, but they're a very good unit also together. I have seen that, and that is something that I envision for myself also. And I don't know why I have not been able to answer this question for myself, but for me to be with someone is to be married to them. I would also love to live with somebody before getting married, because I feel like you really get a shock the moment you go in from like being in a relationship, no matter how many years you've dated somebody. But if you don't know how they are, if you've not lived with them, it becomes very difficult to accommodate to certain things. And it was like a stretch for, I'm sure it is a stretch for a lot of people. I would love to do that, but if I'm living with somebody, it has to, like, for me, I would want for it to end in marriage. I feel like that's how I feel like. Also, my thing of like family unit and creating my own family unit, child or not, but I want my own family unit. Like I love my family. I love my parents. I love my extended family so much. And I'm a sucker for all these things, but I still want my own, like, in this world. So yeah, it's very weird. I don't know like why I feel this way, but I do feel very strongly about it. Like I knew it even before I got divorced. I will be married again.
which is very interesting.
It's so weird.
Which is so interesting, And that's what I keep telling people. People will be like, oh, you're just bitter because you got divorced. And I'm like, no, I've always been like, and my people who know me, my old people, they know I've always been like this. But with new people, especially men who are actually wanting a relationship with you, they always think like, oh, but you're bringing that into this. I'm like, not really. This is how I've always thought. And I want to tell people that just because people get divorced, not everybody is like, oh my God, can't do it again. And you're an example of that. You still want it, you still believe in it, and that's great, right? I think there's no right or, again, right or wrong
whatever
way.
makes you happy at the end of the
Absolutely,
day.
absolutely.
Like whatever makes you happy. And also I feel like there is this stereotype of like a strong independent woman who's a feminist, that she just writes everyone off. She does not listen to anyone. She is too set in her ways. I don't think, like, there are all sorts of people, women, especially we talk about like feminists, like just digressing a little bit, but quickly, that there are all sorts of people and we just want different things for ourselves. But that does not mean that we will be okay with being disrespected, or we would want to disrespect somebody else or make someone else unhappy or be unhappy because of somebody else. So yeah, like I do feel I've seen that happen, where like a woman who just says what she thinks is just like too much. So even I've seen that.
And that's the interesting thing. You mention all of this, and I identify very strongly as this person. I always have, And for me, what you said, that for the right person, you think you'll be able to figure it out for them. I think for me, when I think about the right person, I feel like if it's the right person, I will have nothing to figure out. So, and I know that's being very idealistic, for sure. But I feel like if I really, really want to be in a marriage again, not just companionship, but like a proper marriage, then that person will have to be the person who truly is okay, not just okay, loves the person that I am, with all my fight for different things, with all my need for independence, with all my fears of family and all of that,
They'll understand where you're coming from.
Exactly.
And in fact, they will protect you. Like
Yeah.
if, for instance, like just giving an example, that if your partner, but one of their parents does not like something about you, that or your perspective on something or your outlook on something, they will defend you in front of their parents. That no, what she's saying she needs, and we need to give it to her, and you need to shut up about it. But sometimes when it's not, what I mean is when it's not the right person, they will probably end up agreeing with their parents. Or if not like agreeing, it just, sets in your mind, and then you start behaving differently with your partner sometimes because of somebody else's opinion.
100%.
And that I feel like is tricky.
Yeah, I think, also for me, and my mother mentioned this to me, that's just a wise person in general. And clearly,
Yeah, man, I've never met your mom
Yeah.
somehow. I want to meet her now,
Yeah.
auntie.
She said, Shireen, no matter what, upbringing is very important. And again, no right or wrong upbringing, but your upbringing has to be similar for your outlook to be similar. So even if, say, your partner seems like they're very similar to you, but they fundamentally had a different upbringing, somewhere at the back of their mind, that will be there. And I have experienced it. It has happened with me. So I can now attest to the fact that, yes, I get it. So for me, I think I won't have to just be in love with the person. I'll genuinely have to be in love with his family and his friends, and just like it has to mesh really well.
I think that happens when you want someone to have the same upbringing as yours. Because I've had the opposite experience. Don't want to confuse the viewers, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
My ex and I were very different as people. Our upbringing was very similar.
Interesting.
I did see some gaps in, the family, but as like his parents are literally just like my parents. So maybe we can make it work. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. Like I did not want to be negative about it. I thought like maybe we could work around some issues. They literally felt like my parents. And it was not easy for me at all. Like, but yeah, like I think the way they behave with their own child and with a person who's coming into the family, that was the point of contention for us, where I was never accepted in the family. So I was constantly struggling and I was constantly on the outside. But literally as parents, but thankfully, like I have a brother and he's married. And like my parents, I feel are very good in-laws, especially like my dad and my sister-in-law. They have a genuine connection. And like my sister-in-law and my mom, like my mom is very traditional, but she is never mean about it. She will never put it in your face. And it's the same with me. Like my mom and I don't see eye to eye on things. But like she's very okay with you be you, but main to aisi you. And that was my thought also, but it really did not land for me. So again, for me, it's literally all about the person. I don't care who you're surrounded by. I just want to see what you're all about, because yeah, like that has to be a fit for.
See, that's the thing, right? That it just goes to show how you can think all you want.
Exactly.
You can try to calculate and measure and do a lot of it, but eventually there is a lot of destiny at play. There is a lot of like things that have to happen a certain way. And that is why I think, I'm a little like, okay, I don't know right now. Right now, I'm not very sure of things.
I'm also like, one thing I've learned, you have to take it one day at a time. Like, I know what I want, but I don't want to keep constantly obsessing over it. Like, okay, आज कहाँ है मेरा boyfriend? आज कहाँ है? क्या तुम मेरे boyfriend हो? क्या तुम मेरे boyfriend हो? That's not like what I want to do in life at all. Like, yeah, like I know what I want, but like I have to live my life. And you meet such good people. And I want to value that, like live in the moment. And anyway, I feel like, of course, it was a very difficult experience to go through being divorced. But I think it is actually a very good thing that has happened. how I have realized certain things and my eyes have opened to the world that, okay, this is how things are. I really could not imagine some things happening with me. I was like, ये तो मेरे साथ कभी हो ही नहीं सकता. मेरे साथ कैसे होगा ये? And some of those things actually happened. And then I have really learned to rely on just myself and no one else. And it has been beautiful. Like, I have no resentment against anyone. I'm just very happy living my life on my own terms and figuring it out. In fact, I am like, okay, what do I want? What are my likes? What are my dislikes? Like, I'm becoming more sure of who I am. And I think that's great. And everyone around me, also including you, I think appreciates that.
100%. Like, I have seen you come into your own. I'm not even saying you're a different person.
Yeah.
This was probably you all along.
Yeah.
But you have really come into your own. You know, they also say that a lot of, I don't know, I read it somewhere or something, like in your 30s, if you start feeling like your teenage self again, you're truly authentically living like how you were supposed to live. And you're not really bothered too much about, you know, bad experiences or external, you know, validation or whatever it is. But I think that is the beautiful part of it, because if more women can really come into their own post separation, post divorce, there's no holding them back.
And women are like, I don't want to generalize or anything, but it is true. I feel to a great extent that women are very, very strong. And like, we sometimes let ourselves go for the greater good, but it is for the greater good, and it is a very conscious decision. And it is also a conscious decision to not give a anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said.
100%.
Okay, moving on. Do you want to have kids?
Okay, very interesting question, because I don't know if I have a yes or no answer to this right now. I love kids. I have always been fond of babies. I've been very good with babies all my life. I'm obsessed with all my friends' kids. And incidentally, you said you're
Not a baby person.
and also like you don't have married friends and friends with babies. My friends are married. They have babies. They're on to their second one. And these are people I grew up with. I went to school with them. I love them all, you know. And I think for me, I always really wanted to have kids. I think that was my biggest panic during the separation was, how do I meet someone? How do I start liking someone? How do I reach a point where we are together? And then how do I reach that point of having kids? Because that takes time, right? That's a big decision. But the more I talked through it a lot in therapy and even otherwise, I think I have become a little bit more practical about it. So I'm not closed off to the idea. I have considered freezing my eggs. I'm considering all of those options where I've considered being a single parent. Not right now, maybe another 5 years down the line. I'm more financially stable. I have the help I need, all of that. Because it really does take a village, right? So for me, it's not a yes or no. I'm 100% open to it. I'm 100% open to it without a partner. And I think for me, it's separate. It's separate from finding a partner. I would definitely hang out with your kids. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Like, I used to be really averse to kids. I'm not so much anymore. But kids have always liked me for some reason, which is great. Like, it's great that, you know, like they're warmed up to me and I'm the distant one.
Nice. Jao.
It's the opposite with animals. Like, I will go and grab animals.
Yeah.
They're like, nahi, aana padega. But yeah, it's amazing how you and I are very different. I love our differences, actually.
Yeah.
I really do. I really enjoy it. And to see like your perspective on things, it's amazing.
And I think your perspective on things also gives me hope,
Yeah.
you know, because you're the romantic, I'm not, you know. But I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, why not? If at all, why not? You know, I'm not closed off to anything.
We have come to the end of the podcast, but we have like 2 quick fun segments before we go and grab lunch.
Okay. Late lunch, early dinner.
So what I'm going to do is I've taken out these quotes and memes, basically meme quotes from our DMs, because
Okay.
we DM each other all the fucking time.
Lovely.
So because we DM each other all the time, I've taken out like some of the highlights from ours, and you have to pick your favorite.
Okay, awesome.
Okay? Me leaving the wrong guy for the wrong guy is one.
Okay.
I will never leave you has left. I can't imagine my life without you is married. If you leave me, I will die is alive. WTF, he's mine. बहन, जब तक लड़का कुवारा, ना तुम्हारा, ना हमारा. Fourth, सोचा था उसका टेक्स्ट इग्नोर करूंगी, उसने टेक्स्ट ही नहीं किया.
Hitting home.
Okay, last. Driving down the road and saw my ex. It's funny how I'd hit that changes meaning over the years.
Interesting.
Okay, pick your fave.
I think definitely जब तक लड़का कुआं.
ना तुम्हारा ना हमारा. But even सोचा था उसका टेक्स्ट इग्नोर करूंगी और उसने टेक्स्ट ही नहीं किया.
तो बहुत.
It hits home.
Yeah.
Also, I'll just say it out loud. I'll throw it out there to all those who haven't found love at college or school or college. There's no one at work either.
Yes. It truly isn't.
So, like from our wise eyes, there's no one on the dating app either.
Figure it out now.
We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw a bunch of questions at you. This is, everyone knows the drill. We don't have a name to the segment. It's, I will throw questions and you have to answer rapidly, mostly yes or no. First question is, would you date your ex now if you met him?
Absolutely not. Wow. Shit, he's gonna watch this.
It's okay. Maybe if he was going to pick up the phone, he'll just keep it back.
Yeah, good. Keep it down only, yeah.
Let's split the bill. Love it or hate it?
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I'm a big fan of splitting the bill. I don't want the guy to pay. If you have a comfort level or if you're dating, then of course you have your own understanding of doing things. But I feel like if you're just meeting people,
I think in that case, love it.
I feel like it's best to split the bill.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, sure. Yeah.
Ever ghosted someone and why?
Yes.
Can you remember? I'm sure you've ghosted many people,
Yeah,
not
I
just
think
one
I've ghosted
person.
a lot of people. Why? Mostly because I forgot to text back and then it was probably too late and then I was like, okay, it's done, so I don't need to text again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've also ghosted, but it's like it must be everyone's reason to ghost people. It's just lame. The conversation just dies off if they're saying something stupid.
Yeah,
It's
and I
like,
have nothing to
I don't
say.
have the
It's-
patience
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Like I used to be very like I used to give explanation. Listen, this is not working for me. Or listen, nice to meet you. Now I'm like bye. Coffee date or dinner date?
Dinner date.
Dinner date. Same. Coffee is like I don't like to, especially like coffee breath. No thanks.
Yes.
No
That is true.
thanks. Okay, last. What's sexier, someone who listens or someone who makes you laugh?
Oh my God, someone who makes me laugh. 100%. Someone who, I have many people to listen to me, just make me laugh.
I agree. I feel like it's a little corny also when someone is sitting like this and just listening to you. I was like,
Also, I take time to be
Open.
yappy about
Yeah.
things. So then if you're a listener, then we're not talking. Because then
It's
we're just
true.
quiet.
I
Yeah.
agree. Like when you're just hanging out, you need to properly hang out and not show me your intention of like I'm a good listener. That doesn't work for me.
Make me laugh and take you places. 100%.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I had so much fun. And like, thank you for coming here. It's like our first episode and you really helped take the conversation forward. I love you. I'll give
love
you
you
a
too.
proper hug when the mics are
Yeah.
not in our faces.
But honestly, great fun. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
Same.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Hope you had fun. And like, share, subscribe. Guys, this is our first episode and we really need all the support, honestly. I'm a single woman. Please help me, support me. Independent woman by myself out in the world. Please like, share, subscribe, watch, make your friends watch. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Love it.
Guys, back up.
Sorry guys,